"I'm dirty inside," she confessed, and the rancher made a choice that changed everything. The morning sun was just beginning to rise over the wide fields of the ranch, painting the sky in gentle shades of pink and gold. The air was fresh, carrying the faint smell of grass, soil, and horses. It was a quiet place far from the noise of the town, where life moved with the rhythm of the land and the animals that called it home. The rancher, a strong man in his 30s, was already at work. His boots made soft thuds on the wooden floor as he walked to the stables, where the horses were waiting for their morning feeding. He had a calm, steady way about him, a mix of patience and quiet authority that made people and animals alike trust him. He liked the early hours. There was a peace in the world before the sun fully rose, before the worries and responsibilities of the day crowded in. As he checked on each horse, making sure they were calm and well fed, he noticed a figure standing hesitantly at the edge of the barnyard. She looked out of place, not in a bad way, but as though she belonged somewhere else entirely. She was young, in her late 20s perhaps, with dark hair that fell unevenly over her shoulders and eyes that carried a mixture of fear, weariness, and something deeper, something heavy. The rancher paused for a moment, studying her silently. She seemed unsure, hesitant to move forward, as if she had been carrying a weight for too long and didn't know how to set it down. The rancher didn't speak right away. He had seen people like her before, those who had been hurt, judged, or left behind. But there was a difference in her, a kind of honesty in her gaze that made him think she wasn't trying to hide anything anymore. Finally, she took a small step forward, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. Her voice was quiet but clear. I heard you might need some help on the ranch," she said. "I can work. I just want to help." The rancher nodded slowly. "You can start with some chores," he said. "Feeding the horses, cleaning the stables, whatever needs to be done. Do you know how to handle animals?" She hesitated, then shook her head slightly. "Not really," she admitted. "I've never done this before, but I can learn. I want to." There was something in her honesty that made the rancher trust her. Many people pretended to be someone they were not when asking for help, but she seemed genuine. He decided to give her a chance. "All right," he said. "Come with me and I'll show you what to do." As they walked together through the barn, she glanced around nervously, her eyes lingering on the horses as they nickered softly. She had grown up in a small town, but she had spent most of her life running from her past, moving from place to place, never staying long enough to learn anything new. The ranch felt different, calm and steady, and she felt a strange mix of fear and hope. While they worked, she began to open up, speaking quietly as she swept the floor and fed the horses. "I've made a lot of mistakes," she confessed, her voice trembling. They don't understand me. I've done things I'm not proud of. Sometimes I feel like I'm dirty inside, like no matter what I do, I can't change who I am." The rancher stopped for a moment, leaning on the broom he was using to sweep the dust. He looked at her without judgment. "Dirty?" he asked gently. She nodded, biting her lip. "Yes. Inside, I feel broken. I don't know if anyone could ever trust me or even like me for who I really am." For a moment, there was silence. The horses shifted in their stalls, the sound of hooves and soft breathing filling the quiet. The rancher didn't speak immediately. He could see the pain in her eyes, the way she carried herself as though she were ashamed of simply existing. Many people would have walked away at that moment, scared or unwilling to deal with someone so troubled. But he didn't. Instead, he placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "Everyone has a past," he said, his voice calm. "Everyone has mistakes, regrets, things they wish they could change. That doesn't mean you're dirty. It means you're human. What matters is what you do now and how you move forward." Her eyes widened slightly. No one had ever spoken to her like that before, not with patience, not with understanding. Most people had judged her without listening or turned away when they saw her struggles. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could start over. The rancher smiled faintly, noticing her hesitation. We all have a choice every day, he continued. You can let your past define you, or you can decide who you want to be today. You want to work. Then start by doing your best right now in this moment. That's how you begin. She nodded slowly, feeling a small spark of hope ignite inside her. She bent back to her chores, her movements slightly more confident than before. The work was hard, but it was honest work, and there was something grounding about it. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she belonged somewhere. As the morning passed, the rancher showed her how to feed the horses properly, how to clean the stalls efficiently, and how to handle the animals without frightening them. She listened carefully, repeating each instruction, trying her best not to make mistakes. Every time she stumbled, he corrected her patiently, never raising his voice or showing irritation. By midday, they took a break under the shade of a large oak tree. The sun was warm on their faces, and the air smelled faintly of hay and earth. The woman sat quietly, watching the horses graze, her thoughts wandering. "I've never felt this calm before," she admitted softly. "It's different here. I don't know if I can explain it." The rancher nodded. "The ranch has a way of showing you what really matters," he said. "It doesn't care about your past, only what you do today. You keep choosing to work hard and be honest, and that's all anyone needs to see." She looked at him, unsure how to respond. You really mean that?" she asked. "I do," he replied. "Trust is built slowly. Show me who you are and I'll give you a chance to prove yourself. That's all I ask." For the first time in years, she felt a tiny glimmer of hope. She wanted to believe that maybe she wasn't as broken as she thought. She wanted to believe that she could start over, that someone could see past the mistakes she carried like heavy stones in her chest. As the afternoon went on, she continued her chores, gradually gaining confidence. She discovered that caring for the horses gave her a sense of purpose, a feeling she hadn't known in a long time. She laughed quietly when a young foal stumbled while trying to follow its mother, and felt pride when she managed to calm an anxious horse with a gentle touch and soft words. The rancher watched her from a distance, noting the small changes in her posture, the way her eyes shone with a hint of determination. He could see that the work was more than just a job for her. It was a chance for healing, a chance to find herself in a world that had often been unkind. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, painting the sky with deep oranges and purples, the woman paused to wipe the sweat from her brow. She felt exhausted but alive in a way she hadn't felt before. She turned to the rancher, her voice quiet but steady. "Thank you," she said. "I know I'm not perfect, I know I've made mistakes, but I want to try, I want to be better, I want to be someone worth trusting." The rancher smiled gently. "You're already on the right path," he said. "Keep showing up, keep working hard, and keep being honest with yourself. That's all anyone can ask for. You're doing fine." For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe that she might actually belong somewhere. The ranch, the work, and the quiet kindness of the rancher gave her a sense of hope she had almost forgotten existed. She realized that the choice to keep trying, to keep moving forward despite her past, was hers, and that realization filled her with a strange, comforting strength. As night fell over the ranch, the sky turning deep blue and the stars beginning to twinkle, she knew that this was only the beginning. She still carried her past with her, still faced the challenges of rebuilding her life, but for the first time, she felt like she had someone in her corner. Someone who saw her, not as a collection of mistakes, but as a person capable of growth, change, and perhaps even happiness. And as she lay down that night, exhausted but hopeful, she whispered softly to herself, "Maybe I'm not so dirty inside after all." The first day had been exhausting, but it had also been different from anything she had experienced before. She felt the gentle hum of life in the air, the soft neighing of horses, the rustle of leaves in the wind, and the distant sound of a river trickling nearby. Everything about the ranch felt alive, steady, and welcoming in a way the town she had lived in before never had. The rancher was already at work when she arrived, He looked up as she approached, his face calm but alert. "Morning," he said, nodding slightly. "Ready to start again?" She nodded, swallowing the nervousness in her throat. "Yes," she said, "I'm ready to do whatever needs to be done." He studied her for a moment, then gave a small smile. "Good, let's start with the horses. I'll show you a few new things today." She followed him into the stables, noticing how he moved with confidence and care, handling the animals with gentle authority. She admired the way he treated them, not as property or tools, but as creatures deserving of respect. The woman had never been around animals this closely before, and she felt a little intimidated at first. But the rancher's calm presence eased her fears. As they worked, he began teaching her more than just chores. He showed her how to notice the smallest changes in a horse's behavior, how to understand their moods, and how to respond with patience rather than force. He explained why the animals reacted the way they did, emphasizing observation and empathy. "You have to pay attention," he said, brushing the coat of a young horse. "Every animal tells you something if you know how to listen. Same with people in a way." She nodded, absorbing every word. "I think I understand," she said softly. "It's about trust and patience." The rancher's eyes softened. "Exactly. Trust has to be earned, but once it's there, it makes everything easier. Don't rush it and don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's how you learn." For the first time, she felt someone believed in her, not just superficially but genuinely. The feeling was strange and comforting, yet it also brought a quiet fear. What if she failed? What if her past caught up with her? The memories she had tried to bury so deep came back, fleeting but sharp. The times she had been judged, rejected, or treated unfairly. She pushed the thoughts aside as they continued. There was work to do, and she didn't want to disappoint him. She swept the stalls, carried water buckets, and fed the horses, learning to do each task with care and precision. The rancher corrected her gently when she made mistakes, never raising his voice or showing impatience. Each correction felt like guidance rather than criticism, and she began to trust herself more as the day passed. By midday, they paused for a short break under the shade of a large oak tree. The sun was high now, warming the earth, and the smell of hay and soil was comforting. She sat quietly, sipping water, and watched the rancher as he tended to a small foal that had been born a few days earlier. He was gentle and confident, speaking softly to the animal, and she realized that she had never seen anyone care for another being in such a patient, loving way. "I never thought I'd like this," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I mean work, animals, it's different from anything I've done, but it feels right." The rancher glanced at her, raising an eyebrow. "Different can be good," he said. "Sometimes you have to step into something new to find out what you're capable of. This place, these animals, they can teach you things about yourself you might not learn anywhere else." She thought about his words. He wasn't talking about just learning to care for the horses. He was talking about life, about patience, courage, and trust. About facing yourself honestly, even when it's hard. She wanted to be that person he seemed to believe she could be. The afternoon brought new challenges. A small herd of horses needed to be moved to another pasture, and she was asked to help guide them along the narrow path. Her heart pounded as the horses shuffled and shifted, their hooves kicking up dust. For a moment she froze, unsure how to act. One horse neighed loudly, startling her, and she stepped back, almost losing her footing. The rancher moved quickly but calmly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Breathe," he said softly. "You're not alone, just follow my lead." She took a deep breath, focusing on the sound of his voice and the rhythm of the animal's movements. Slowly, she began to guide the horses, her hands steadying as she learned to read their cues. She felt a surge of pride when she realized she was doing it right, that she could manage the herd without fear. The rancher's approving nod made her heart lift. By the time the work was done, she was tired but exhilarated. She felt a sense of accomplishment she hadn't experienced in years, a feeling of being useful and capable. For the first time, she understood that her past didn't have to define her. She could make choices now that mattered, choices that could shape who she wanted to be. As they walked back to the barn, the rancher spoke quietly. "You've done well today. You're learning fast, but remember, it's not just about the work. It's about how you handle yourself, how you face your fears, and how you trust yourself." She nodded, feeling the truth in his words. "I want to," she said softly. "I really want to." The rest of the day passed in a blur of chores, lessons, and small victories. She learned to clean the stables more efficiently, to feed the animals without spilling water or dropping grain, and even to groom a stubborn horse that had resisted her touch earlier. Each task, though simple in appearance, taught her patience, focus, and humility. By evening, the sky was painted in shades of orange and pink once again. The ranch felt peaceful, alive with the quiet sounds of nature settling in for the night. The woman sat on the porch of the ranch house, looking out at the fields. She felt a deep, quiet satisfaction in her chest. The day had been hard, but it had also been rewarding. She felt herself growing stronger, not just physically, but emotionally. The rancher joined her a few moments later, carrying a small bucket of feed for the animals that stayed near the house. He set it down quietly and sat beside her. "How are you feeling?" he asked. She hesitated, unsure if she could put it into words. "Different," she said finally. "Calm and hopeful. I didn't think I could feel like this again." He smiled, a warm, understanding smile that made her feel safer than she had in years. "That's a good feeling," he said. "It means you're on the right path. Keep showing up. Keep working hard. Keep being honest with yourself. That's all you need to do for now." She looked at him, realizing that he didn't just see her past or her mistakes. He saw her potential, her strength, and her willingness to change. It was something she had never experienced before, and it filled her with a quiet determination. As the stars began to appear in the night sky, she knew that this was only the beginning. There would be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But for the first time in a long time, she felt ready to face them. She had someone who believed in her, and she was beginning to believe in herself. And as she lay down that night, the sounds of the ranch surrounding her, the distant call of an owl, the gentle breathing of a nearby horse, she whispered to herself, "I can do this. I will try. I can be better." It was a small step, but a powerful one. A step toward trust, toward healing, and toward the life she had always wanted but never thought she could have. And somewhere deep inside, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in years: hope. The morning was bright and crisp, with sunlight spilling over the green pastures of the ranch. The woman felt a quiet excitement as she stepped outside. It had been a few days since she had started working on the ranch, and she was beginning to feel more confident in her abilities. She knew the animals better now, and she had started to understand the rhythm of the land, the way the horses moved, the subtle shifts in weather, and the tasks that needed to be done to keep everything running smoothly. The rancher was already at work, checking the fences along the edge of the pasture. His movements were calm and deliberate, every step measured, every action careful. He looked up as she approached and nodded. "Ready for today?" he asked. She nodded eagerly. "Yes. I want to do my best." "Good," he said. "There's a lot to do. Let's start with the new task. I want you to help guide the herd to the upper pasture today. It will be a bit challenging, but I think you're ready." Her stomach tightened at the thought. Moving the horses had been difficult before, and this pasture required walking along a narrow path with steep edges. A small misstep could spook the animals. She glanced at the rancher, seeing the calm trust in his eyes, and tried to steady herself. As they approached the herd, the horses were already restless. Some neighed, while others pawed at the ground, anxious to move. The woman took a deep breath, recalling the rancher's advice about patience and observation. She reminded herself to stay calm, to notice the horses' moods, and to respond gently. "Start by positioning yourself near the center of the herd," the rancher instructed. "Keep your movements steady. Speak softly." Horses can sense fear, so you must be confident even if you feel unsure." She nodded and slowly stepped closer, her hands trembling slightly. The horses shifted as she approached, their eyes bright and alert. She remembered the rancher's words: trust had to be earned, not forced. Speaking softly, she encouraged the horses forward, using gentle gestures to guide them along the path. At first, one of the larger horses, a strong chestnut stallion, resisted her efforts. It neighed loudly and turned its head, almost knocking her aside. She stumbled back, her heart racing. For a moment, panic threatened to take over, and she felt the old fear creeping in, the fear of failure, of being judged, of making a mistake she couldn't fix. The rancher moved quickly to her side, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "Breathe," he said calmly. "You've done this before. Trust yourself. Trust the herd." She closed her eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and nodded. Slowly, carefully, she guided the stallion with gentle pressure and soft words. She could feel it responding to her, relaxing as she stayed steady. One by one, the other horses followed, their nervous energy settling into a calm rhythm. By the time they reached the upper pasture, she was breathing heavily, sweat clinging to her forehead, but a wide smile had spread across her face. She had done it. She had guided the herd safely, even the stallion that had tried to resist her. The rancher gave her an approving nod. "You did well," he said. "I knew you could." For the first time, she felt a surge of pride that wasn't tied to her past mistakes. She had accomplished something difficult, and she had done it with patience, focus, and care. The feeling was intoxicating, and it strengthened her resolve to keep trying, to keep moving forward. The day continued with more tasks, each one teaching her something new. She helped mend a broken fence, learning how to handle the tools and materials with precision. She cleaned the barns, organized the feed storage, and even assisted in preparing a small garden for fresh vegetables. Each task seemed small in isolation, but together they gave her a sense of purpose she had never known before. As the afternoon approached, a sudden commotion caught her attention. One of the younger horses, startled by a flock of birds, had bolted toward the fence, panicking and kicking. It was headed straight for the other horses, who began to scatter. She froze for a moment, fear gripping her chest. She had never dealt with a situation like this before. The rancher reacted immediately, moving with calm authority. "Go, help me calm it," he shouted. Her heart pounded, but she ran toward the scene, following his lead. The stallion was still moving erratically, and the young horse was dangerously close to a sharp fence post. She remembered everything the rancher had taught her about patience, observation, and gentle guidance. She approached slowly, speaking softly to the young horse, holding out her hands in a calming gesture. At first it resisted, but gradually, as she stayed steady and focused, it began to respond. The rancher helped guide the herd around, keeping the other horses safe while she concentrated on the young one. After several tense minutes, she managed to calm the horse completely, holding it close until it stopped trembling. She looked up at the rancher, breathless and shaking, and saw a faint smile of pride on his face. "You did it," he said quietly. "You stayed calm, you handled it." Her chest swelled with a mixture of relief and pride. She had faced a real challenge, something she had feared, and she had overcome it. For the first time, she realized that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was acting in spite of it. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the pastures, she sat on the fence, wiping the sweat from her brow. The rancher joined her, handing her a bottle of water. "You've changed a lot in just a few days," he said. "You're stronger than you think." She shook her head, feeling a mix of humility and gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said softly. "You believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself." The rancher shrugged, his calm demeanor unchanged. "I just gave you the chance. You took it. That's what matters." Her thoughts drifted as she watched the horses grazing peacefully in the pasture. She thought about her past, the mistakes, the regrets, the people who had doubted her. None of that mattered here. Here, she had a fresh start, a place where she could prove to herself that she was capable of more than she had ever imagined. As evening approached, the rancher asked her to help with a final task, checking the water troughs and making sure all the animals had enough for the night. She moved quickly and efficiently, her hands steady, her mind focused. She noticed a small foal struggling to reach the water, and without hesitation she lifted it gently, helping it drink. The rancher watched silently, a quiet satisfaction in his eyes. By the time the work was done, the sky was painted with deep hues of orange and purple, and the ranch was bathed in the soft light of dusk. The woman felt exhausted but deeply fulfilled. She had faced her fears, taken responsibility, and proven to herself that she could rise to the challenge. As they walked back to the ranch house, the rancher spoke quietly. "Today wasn't easy. You handled more than most people would. That shows real growth." She looked at him, a small smile forming. "I never thought I could do things like this," she admitted. "I always thought I'd fail, but today I didn't. I actually did it." He nodded. "That's the thing about trust and courage. You don't see it until you face the challenge. And once you do, you realize you're capable of more than you imagined." She felt a warmth in her chest, a mixture of pride, relief, and hope. For the first time, she could see a future for herself that wasn't defined by her past. She could be strong, capable, and trusted. And she realized something else. She wanted to continue proving to herself every day that she could grow, learn, and overcome. That night, as the stars twinkled above the ranch and the animals settled for the night, she lay down in the small room assigned to her. Exhausted but exhilarated, she reflected on the day. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and challenge, and she had come through stronger. She had learned the value of patience, observation, and courage. Most importantly, she had learned to trust herself. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, she could do more. She could grow. She could face the future with strength and honesty. For the first time in a long time, she fell asleep not haunted by her past, but filled with hope for what was ahead. The morning on the ranch began quietly, with a soft breeze rustling through the trees and the faint sound of horses moving in the pasture. The woman had settled into a rhythm over the past few days. She woke early, helped with the chores, and felt more confident with each passing hour. The rancher's patient guidance had helped her grow in ways she never thought possible. She could feel the weight of her past starting to lift, replaced by a sense of purpose and belonging. That morning, she was helping mend a section of fence near the edge of the pasture. She worked carefully, hammering the nails and aligning the boards as the rancher watched nearby, offering advice and encouragement when needed. She enjoyed the physical work. It grounded her and gave her a sense of accomplishment she hadn't experienced in years. She felt strong and capable, ready to face anything the day might bring. But sometimes, life has a way of reminding us that the past doesn't stay buried for long. As she adjusted a fence post, she saw a figure approaching from the road that led to the ranch. At first, she thought it might be a delivery or a visitor, but as the person drew closer, her heart sank. It was someone she had hoped never to see again, a figure from her past who had been a source of fear, judgment, and shame. The sight of him brought back memories she had tried to forget. The mistakes, the humiliation, the nights spent feeling worthless and alone. She froze, unsure of what to do. The rancher noticed her hesitation immediately. "Everything okay?" he asked, his calm eyes searching hers. She shook her head slightly, unable to speak. The man from her past was standing near the edge of the property now, watching her, and she felt panic rising in her chest. She wanted to run, to disappear, to hide from the fear that threatened to overwhelm her. The rancher stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Who is that?" he asked gently. She took a shaky breath. "It's someone from my past," she whispered. I thought I was done with him. I thought he wouldn't come back." He nodded slowly. "Then we face this together. You don't have to face it alone." She glanced at him, a mix of fear and gratitude in her eyes. His words were steady, grounding her, reminding her that she was no longer alone in the world. She had someone who believed in her, someone who would stand by her even when the shadows of her past appeared. The man had approached the fence now, his expression unreadable. "I didn't expect to find you here," he said, his voice calm but probing. "I've heard some things and I wanted to see for myself." The woman felt her heart pound. I don't want to talk to you," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I've moved on. I'm not the same person I was before." He smirked slightly as if doubting her words. "Have you really changed, or are you just pretending?" Her fear surged, but then she remembered the rancher's lessons about courage and honesty. She straightened her back, took a deep breath, and met his gaze. "I'm not pretending," she said firmly. "I've learned a lot. I've made choices to be better. I'm not the person I used to be, and I don't need your approval anymore." The man's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. He hadn't expected her to speak with such confidence. She realized then that her voice, once timid and uncertain, was growing stronger, steadier with every word. The rancher stepped forward now, standing slightly in front of her. "She doesn't need to justify herself to you," he said firmly. "She's doing well and she's making her own life. If you're here to judge, you're wasting your time." The man hesitated, clearly unprepared for the calm authority in the rancher's voice. He glanced at her again as if searching for the same fear he remembered, but it wasn't there. Instead, he saw a woman who had faced her past, learned from it, and refused to be controlled by it. For a moment, there was silence. The horses in the nearby pasture shifted, the wind rustled through the trees, and the distant mountain stood still, watching the quiet confrontation unfold. The woman felt her heart settle slightly. She realized that she no longer had to run. She could face this challenge with honesty and courage, just as she had faced the herd of horses weeks ago. Finally, the man spoke. "Maybe you really have changed," he said, his voice quieter now, almost reluctant to admit it. "I didn't think that was possible." She nodded, her chest lifting with relief and quiet pride. "It is possible," she said. "Change is possible if you're willing to work for it. I've made mistakes, yes, but I've learned from them. I've chosen to be better, and I won't let anyone take that away from me." The rancher nodded approvingly. "That's right," he said. "Your past doesn't define you, your actions today do, and she's proving that every day." The man seemed to consider this for a moment, then stepped back. "I see that," he said finally. I won't interfere anymore. It looks like you've found your own path." As he walked away, the woman felt a rush of relief mixed with triumph. She had faced a ghost from her past, and she had stood her ground. She hadn't run, she hadn't broken down, and she hadn't allowed fear to control her. She had proven to herself more than anyone else that she was capable of courage, honesty, and growth. The rancher placed a hand on her shoulder again. "You handled that well," he said. "It wasn't easy, but you faced it. That's the kind of strength that lasts." She smiled, feeling the warmth of his words. "Thank you," she said softly. "I couldn't have done it without you." He shook his head slightly, his expression calm. "You did it yourself. I just helped you see that you could." The rest of the day continued with routine tasks, but the woman felt lighter, freer than she had in years. She cleaned the barns, fed the horses, and even helped repair a section of the barn roof that had been damaged by a recent storm. Every action, every choice, reminded her that she was capable, strong, and deserving of trust. That evening, as the sky turned shades of pink and purple, she and the rancher sat on the porch, watching the horses graze in the fading light. The air was quiet, except for the soft sounds of nature settling in for the night. "You've come a long way," the rancher said quietly. "Not just with the work, but with yourself. You've faced your fears, you've taken responsibility, and you've proven that you can grow." She nodded, feeling tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "I still have a long way to go," she said, "but I feel like I can do it now. I feel like I can face whatever comes next." He smiled, a warm, steady smile that made her feel safe. "And you will," he said. You've already shown that you're stronger than you think. Keep moving forward, keep being honest, and keep trusting yourself. That's all it takes." For the first time in years, she felt truly at peace. The past had returned, challenging her, but she had faced it and come out stronger. She realized that change wasn't about erasing mistakes or pretending they never happened. It was about learning from them, taking responsibility, and choosing to be better every day. As the stars began to twinkle above the ranch, she lay in bed that night, thinking about everything she had accomplished. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and judgment, and she had come through with courage and honesty. She had learned to trust herself, to trust the rancher, and to believe that she could create a future worth living. And somewhere deep inside, she felt a quiet certainty. No matter what challenges came next, she had the strength to face them. She had proven to herself that she was capable of courage, growth, and change. For the first time in a long time, she fell asleep with a sense of hope, knowing that she was no longer defined by her past, but by the choices she made each day. She had faced her fears, and she had won, not because anyone else had given her permission, but because she had found the strength within herself. The morning sun spread its golden light across the ranch, turning the fields into a sea of warmth and color. The woman woke with a sense of calm she hadn't felt in years. She stretched and looked out the window at the horses grazing peacefully in the pastures. The ranch, which had once seemed intimidating and overwhelming, now felt like a place of safety and belonging. She had grown here, learned here, and found courage she never thought she possessed. The rancher was already at work, checking the fences near the stables. When he saw her coming, he gave a small nod. "Good morning," he said, his voice steady and calm. "Good morning," she replied, feeling a quiet strength in her voice. She had faced so much already, the fear, the uncertainty, the shadows of her past, and she had come through stronger every time. Today felt like another step forward, another chance to prove herself, not to anyone else but to herself. The day began with routine tasks, feeding the horses, cleaning the stables, and checking the fences. She moved with confidence, her hands steady, her mind focused. The rancher watched her closely, noticing how much she had grown. There was a calm efficiency in her movements now, a quiet determination that had not been there before. After the chores, the rancher called her over. "I have a special task for you today," he said. "There's a small area of the pasture that needs clearing. It's overgrown, and the animals can't graze there safely. I want you to lead the effort." Her stomach tightened for a moment. This task was larger than anything she had handled alone before. But she remembered everything she had learned, the patience, the courage, the importance of staying calm, and she nodded. "I can do it," she said firmly. He smiled. "I know you can. I'll be nearby if you need help, but I want you to take the lead." She approached the overgrown area, surveying it carefully. The weeds were thick, and there were small hidden rocks and branches that could trip the horses. She planned her approach, deciding which areas to clear first and how to move the debris safely. Step by step, she began the work, careful and methodical. As she worked, she thought about her journey. A few days ago, she had been a person unsure of herself, afraid of failure and carrying the weight of her past mistakes. Now she was strong, capable, and focused. She had faced fear, challenges, and even the return of someone from her past, and she had emerged stronger every time. She realized that her growth wasn't just about learning tasks on the ranch. It was about learning to trust herself, to face challenges, and to embrace her own worth. Midday came, and the sun was high in the sky. Sweat dripped from her brow, but she didn't slow down. The rancher came over to check on her progress. "You're doing very well," he said, surveying the cleared areas. "The work looks excellent," she smiled, feeling a sense of pride welling up inside her. "Thank you," she said. "It's hard, but it feels good to make a difference." The rancher nodded. "That's what this place teaches. Hard work, patience, and taking responsibility. It's more than chores, it's learning to be strong in every part of your life." She worked through the afternoon, moving debris, cutting away the overgrown weeds and marking safe paths for the animals. The work was tiring, but each cleared area felt like a small victory. By the time the sun began to lower in the sky, the entire area was cleared. The pasture was safe for the horses, and she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The rancher came over, standing beside her, looking at the cleared land. "You've done a remarkable job," he said. "You handled this task with courage, patience, and focus. You should be proud." She looked at him, her chest swelling with gratitude. "I am proud," she said softly. "I feel different, stronger, like I can face anything now." He nodded, smiling faintly. "That's the result of trust, courage, and consistent effort. You've earned this moment. Not just because of the work you've done, but because of who you've become." As the evening approached, the rancher suggested they take a walk through the pastures. The woman followed him, feeling the cool grass beneath her boots and the soft evening breeze on her face. The ranch was quiet, filled only with the gentle sounds of animals settling in for the night and the distant rustle of the trees. They stopped at a small hill overlooking the entire property. From here she could see the fields, the barns, the horses grazing peacefully, and the mountains in the distance. It was a beautiful view, and she felt a deep sense of peace. "You've come a long way," the rancher said quietly. "From the moment you arrived here to facing your fears, to handling real challenges, your growth has been remarkable." She looked out at the view, her thoughts drifting. "I couldn't have done it without you," she admitted. "You believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself." He shook his head slightly. "I just gave you the opportunity. The courage, the strength, and the growth came from you. I only helped guide you." She smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. She realized that this was more than just work on a ranch. It was a journey of transformation. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and the shadows of her past, and she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident. She had learned to trust herself and to believe that she could shape her own life. That night, after completing the remaining chores, she and the rancher sat on the porch, watching the stars appear in the clear sky. The air was cool and calm, filled with the gentle sounds of the ranch settling for the night. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the ranch, the work, and most of all, for the rancher who had chosen to give her a chance when no one else would. "You've changed your life in just a short time," the rancher said softly, "and it's only the beginning. Keep moving forward, keep learning, and keep trusting yourself. The choices you make each day shape who you become." She nodded, feeling tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "I will," she said. "I want to keep growing, keep being better, and keep proving to myself that I can be strong." He smiled, a calm and steady presence that made her feel safe. "You've already proven it," he said. "And you'll continue to do so every day, as long as you stay true to yourself." The woman looked out at the fields, the animals, and the ranch that had become her sanctuary. She realized that she was no longer defined by her past mistakes, her fears, or the judgment of others. She was defined by her courage, her honesty, and the choices she made each day. And in that moment, she felt a deep sense of freedom and hope. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a future filled with possibility, a life where she could continue to grow, to learn, and to be proud of who she was becoming. She knew there would be challenges ahead, but she also knew that she had the strength to face them, the courage to overcome them, and the wisdom to learn from them. As she lay down that night, the sounds of the ranch surrounding her, the soft breathing of the horses, the rustle of the trees, and the distant call of an owl, she felt a quiet certainty. She was no longer a person defined by her fears or her past. She was a person of courage, determination, and hope. She had faced the challenges of the ranch, the shadows of her past, and the doubts within herself, and she had emerged stronger on the other side. And somewhere deep inside, a calm voice whispered, "This is only the beginning. The future is yours to shape. You have the strength, the courage, and the heart to face whatever comes next." As she drifted to sleep, The rancher looked out over the fields one last time, a quiet pride in his eyes. He had made a choice to trust her, to give her a chance, and it had changed everything. She had taken that opportunity, faced every challenge, and transformed her life. The ranch, the animals, and their shared journey had become more than work. They had become a story of trust, courage, and hope. And as the night settled over the ranch, the stars twinkling brightly above, it was clear that both of their lives had been changed forever, not by chance, but by the choice to believe in growth, in courage, and in the possibility of a better tomorrow.